Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate. And no, I did not have enough time to put on dress clothes today, but no chest hair. We're still staying classy. Appreciate everybody for being in here. We have a bit of a shorter stream today, but we're going to cover some crazy explosive news today, actually. The headline story is that there was apparently a intra-rivalry, a bunch of young Republicans between different groups in different states, and those messages were leaked. We have a bunch of chat logs leaked, and it is loaded with things such as "I love Hitler," "watermelon people," "no, she's not Indian, she just doesn't bathe much." We have a lot. And it's actually funny because I think this is kind of the point where you could see, and what I would expect to see is hopefully a stronger response to some of these messages. We'll get into that. It's obviously super explosive. Hopefully the thumbnail that I made is not going to get me in trouble at all. I didn't even really check to know if Hitler's allowed. But anyways, I thought it was funny. It's like a great thumbnail. It gets the point across. So that's kind of the biggest story. And the neat thing in there too, actually, is it wasn't just that they had gotten leaked per se by chance or that someone had come across them. There was, and as is being reported by, I believe his name is Peter Giunta, that this was actually led by Gavin Wax. And Gavin Wax led this and demanded these chat logs be turned over. And so as the article writes and as it appears that Gavin Wax is the person who turned over 2,900 pages of these chat logs. That, I mean, a lot of people are going to get hit. A lot of people. The condemnations have already been coming out. I believe Elise Stefanik already had statements get published, even though she said like none of these people are involved with her. That's what we're up against. So we'll get into that. Some of the other smaller things that we have today, nothing crazy by any means beyond that story. Some house cleaning, I guess, is that supposedly Alex Jones has confirmed on X that there is an upcoming Nick Fuentes and Tucker debate. Although the way he responded makes it seem like he's working on it. I don't know if it's a legitimate confirmation. So just let you know there is effort towards a potential Nick Fuentes Tucker Carlson debate. And I would imagine that would be explosive, to say the least. We also have from Gen X Girl, and I didn't look further into it beyond the post, but we'll recheck it and revisit it. Supposedly that Israel is not a signee or a signator on the peace deal in the Middle East. Everyone else is. Egypt is signed on. You have Jordan is signed on. You know, everyone that matters is signed on, but someone's missing from that. So we'll explore that. Gavin McInnes and Nick Fuentes had a debate, if you will, but it was less so a debate as we're kind of used to, like not really much arguing at all. But it was awkward. Bro, I was like cringing left and right from the beginning. Gavin McInnes is just one of those guys who's like, it's not for me. It just isn't. It just really isn't for me. But I get the appeal from him, but it's a bit awkward. And it kind of revolved around a lot of the same disagreements they had previously, which is largely on the issue of, do Jewish people behave and act in a monolith? And that kind of was the beginning of where the disagreements came from. ultimately, if you've not checked it out, definitely check it out. Compound Censored is who is hosting it. They released it in 2 parts. I'm not sure why, probably to clean it up, I would imagine, to make sure it was okay for YouTube. It's appearing to me that the more often that he's doing these collabs, well, I think is good, and continue pushing him out there. They're not getting very deep, I guess, if you will. They're not as good listens as I would expect. But I do think it's good that he's getting more out there. But yes, right. Yeah. Not all Jews from Gavin. The funny moment with that is, Gavin actually calls Ron Coleman literally on air. And everybody doesn't know Ron Coleman is a Jew and famously has disagreed with Nick in the past before on a lot of things. But he asked him verbatim about a question, do you think Jews would get behind this? Do you think Jewish people would be more, what's the word? Do you think Jewish people would be more likely to agree on these ends, even though if they're across the aisle, left versus right? And he calls Ron Coleman and he was like, oh yeah, definitely. So the guy agrees with Nick. And that's the second time now in a debate with Gavin Newsom and Nick Fuentes that he calls in a Jew and the Jew proves Nick right. So Gavin Newsom is 0 for 2 in calling in his Jewish friends. There's a story building on X, and this is the one that actually had more of my attention before the Politico article dropped. There's a story on X, and I'm not too familiar with who this individual is, but there's someone who goes by the name of Nikita Bayer or something like that. And as its description is, he's some level of employed with X. I think it says like he is the X product manager. There has been some issues with him, and those issues would be things like censorship. Those issues would be, I believe, as it relates to payout. And it's just odd. It's odd because I had followed it. I had been picked up the story when I had first seen it with Antunes. And if those who aren't familiar, Antunes is a very, it's a very pro-based, like right-wing account. I'm not too familiar with them, but I catch their posts all the time. They have a lot of viral posts go pretty often, hit millions of views. They supposedly were suspended and banned off of X for inauthentic behavior. But what was that behavior? No one can seem to tell or understand or figure out. This also is going in line with who is known as Captive Dreamer on X. I can never remember what his actual real name is. But Captive Dreamer also runs a couple of accounts on X. Both were banned within like an hour or two of each other. And I believe people are of the belief that is who is behind it, this Nikita Bayer guy. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I am no fan of Captive Dreamer, but I'm a fan of the First Amendment and freedom of speech. The only issue is when I looked into it, it appears that Captive Dreamer was doxing people, and that's ultimately what led to his banning. So I'm not sure. And I'm not going to get behind doxing like whatsoever. So if that was the case, then ban the guy. And not only is he rage baiting all the time, and he's like this big, lol cow who's got this massive forehead. They're making Twin Towers memes of this guy's forehead now. It's just like it's become, it's becoming bigger than him. But if that's what he was doing, then it's like, yeah, then get off the platform. I'm not gonna back you up. But the other issues too are the censorship of Antunes and supposedly another account I'm not as familiar with. But largely this like $10,000 payout, which supposedly seemed to be a guy basically had complained that his payout was very low, and then someone sends a screenshot in and they just gift him 10 grand. Obviously, for people who are trying to make a living off of X, I would imagine that would piss you off. Somebody just randomly deposits 10K because you complained. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, wouldn't everybody complain at that point? But this is nothing to be surprised about, obviously, because everybody I think would know that X is not a free speech platform. They're not committed to it whatsoever. They're at the behest ultimately of the advertisers. We've seen Elon do these things multiple times. And I would even add on top of that I think that it's a bit out of Elon's hands, in the sense that I think he's probably building himself a network of levels and layers of like generals, if you will, other guys, other higher ups, top brass. And it's getting to the point where it seems like he just expects it to run without him constantly paying attention to it. But then he hires all these people from Reddit, and these problems just keep happening. So there's going to come a time where he's going to have to seriously clean up some of the people who he has working for him, but that would require him to fire about 98,000 Indians. So who knows if that'll happen? I doubt it. The other kind of more cultural story, before we get into the big one, the featured story today, is, Lord forgive me, is there was a lot of this pushback about this post that had went viral from, I believe, both AF Post and one of the Nick Fuentes clippers. And that was that Nick Fuentes had made this call, and I made a video about it yesterday, gives this call, which is like the second, third, fourth, fifth time he's made it over the last year, for all of his followers and young men in general who are, right leaning or are like, friendly to our ideas over here on the far right, to begin their march through the institutions. And what does a march through the institutions mean? Well, it's basically a call to tell these guys to, one, be elite human capital. So not only just being, in terms of, I think his first reference, he was bringing up people like Ted Kaczynski, right? Polymaths, being like these just insanely, just mentally and intellectually equipped men who can, for one, not only, let's not go the explosive route, who can do crazy things with science, but also at the same time be very convicted, and be not a jack of all trades, but actually be elite in terms of different skills. But there's a lot of pushback to that. The pushback in the friendly form was from like somebody like Paul Miller, right? If you're familiar with Paul Miller, what's his handle? Gypsy Crusader, guy who puts on the Joker stuff, calls people N-words all the time. He's hilarious. His pushback to that post, the one that went viral, was essentially this. He doesn't believe that there is enough time for this march through the institutions to occur. I actually am very privy to that, which is I don't know if we do have enough time. So the big person who pushes back is Arval, and then many of the usual, the ankle biters, if you will, who are pushing back against that. Now, there were some who pushed back who I found to be, they had good takes. Arval, however, pushed back, basically making the claim that less so about the time, but that it is actually more important to build these parallel institutions. And so there's a bunch of just competing pushback back and forth. You have what seems to be a leading argument from people like Mahler and others, and Mahler actually makes a great argument, which is take a look at himself, right? Corey Mahler, one of the hosts of the Stone Choir podcast, has all these credentials, right? He has a bunch of different credentials, right? Graduated from this, got accredited doing this, and I mean, he's still being blackballed. And so Lauren Witzke makes this point, which is to Arval, which is, well, it doesn't matter if you graduate from Whites Are Us. It matters if the institutions that you need to be getting into that actually are afflicting change or possess influence or wielding influence, if they see that you got a degree from Whites Are Us, they're more than likely just going to blacklist you in the first place. And so there is this kind of competing element of, should we go for the parallel institutions or should we begin the march to the institutions? And I think you can do both. Quite honestly, I think you can do both. Maybe there's an argument to be had of which is more important to do. But I would actually go back and say this. If there's not enough time, say we're running on this 20-year timeline, right? And many of these people believe that there's not enough time to push and begin this march to the institutions. Well, I think that argument still also applies to the other side, which is, would that also not imply we don't have enough time to build parallel institutions? Or is the goal basically to get as much built as we can so when it crashes, we're at least not landing in the bush somewhere? We're at least landing somewhere where we have something to build off of from. I do see your chat in there, Ronnie. It's not Casual Friday. Yeah, that's hilarious. I just didn't have time to get dressed up. I will say, dude, I felt like I lost so much aura yesterday. Dude, my bald head was like massive yesterday. It made me, I was so embarrassed of myself. It made me want to almost delete the stream. Anyways, so that's kind of an overview of what we're going to try to cover today. The only issue that I have, well, the only issue, I mean, not even really a non-issue. The only thing, unfortunately, is that I will have to sign off close to 8, probably a little bit beforehand. For those who weren't listening yesterday, the climb or the march for the New American Vision, the new group that we are going to be building, it's going to be launching very, very soon. And so I got a couple meetings with some of those guys that are involved with that. And let me check out the logo too before we get into the featured story. Let me find this logo here. It's the New American Vision. Let me actually grab this on YouTube. I just want to show you guys this cool logo that I had no part of, by the way. It's just, I think it's really cool. I think the nav_creator. So if you guys want to subscribe to this channel ahead of time. Okay, so Lord Larry has seen it. Cool. Let me, this might take me a lifetime to find because there's only like 2 subscribers to it right now. Since it was just started like the other day. That's crazy. I looked it up verbatim and it's not there. Or it should be in my subscriptions, right? If If I can't find it, we are just going to move on. Okay, unsure where that went. Zeb sent it to me. But trust Lord of the Reed that the logo's sick. It's basically an eye, but with political colors. But anyways, moving on to the featured story, moving on to the community submission. This is today's community submission. So the community submission today is our featured story, which is this Politico leak of chat messages. Supposedly, once again, being led by Gavin Wax. Now, they hit everybody. So let me go ahead and grab this screen here, because I think this is probably the best way that we'll be able to look at this story. I'm actually at the very bottom of the story. Let me scroll up. So we can go through some of these messages so you guys can see verbatim some of what was actually discussed here. Now, we'll clean this up a bit for you. Let me move this over some. Don't need to see me as much, I guess. And I'll probably make this a bit smaller. And bear with me. Just want to get this on screen so you guys can see it. It's probably going to have to be a little bit smaller just so it's reasonable, I guess. Probably could have set this up beforehand, but I did not. So that's it. So what you actually see on screen are some of the alleged messages, which is a lot of them. And there's a lot of people who are involved. There's many people who are involved. I'm also doing this so it's not like blinding you guys with the bright white screen. I know that's actually kind of annoying. There's like no dark mode for Politico apparently. And that's what we have is a bunch of these messages. You can see right here, smack in the middle. This is the great I love Hitler. And it's this article overall largely is basically condemnation. It's, oh my gosh, look how racist they are. Oh my gosh, look at this, look at this, look at this. They even bring in all the neo-Nazi stuff, like you would expect these conversations. And then that's when it had hit me. This does read very, very, very similarly to messages that you would see just typically like off of random groypers. Lord of the Ree, if you want to send that into the Discord, I will grab the link off of there. Not sure why the chat's not letting you send it through. So it's not only just that. It's not even just the aspect of Hitler. It's more than just like the racism stuff. They love the watermelon people, the Indian stuff. And thank you very much, Lord of the Ree. Let me actually put that on screen before we get too much further into this. Let me find it here. Here we go. This is the logo, the New American Vision. I don't know if that's a good way to see it. But that is the logo. I wanted to just get that on screen so you guys could see that. You can go ahead and subscribe if you want already. It is at NAV_creators for anyone who would be interested in signing up and joining and subscribing to the New American Vision. And thank you very much for that if you do. I just want to make sure I get that on screen. Let me go back here. All right. So here's what I would say. This would be my first actual point on this, to be honest with you. My first point would be, so, dude, no, who's asking this? You have no idea who I am if you have to ask me this. Anyways, the story here is, and I think the bigger story, the story is actually not that the chats got leaked, although there is a story there about Gavin Wax and like what really is his kind of, where's his positioning on this, right? Is he an asset, right? Is he more so positioned as an asset, as a gatekeeper? And that's kind of the way this reads. This is what I think the actual story is. The actual story of this is if every one of these guys in this chat go, yes, I did say that, and? Well, anyways, that has to be the reaction to this. That has to be the reaction to this, and here's why. Jay Jones, another story that I've covered quite a bit, and many of you might be familiar, and if you're not, I'll give a short story here, short summary. What you end up having is Jay Jones, Attorney General candidate running in Virginia, had revealed in 2022 text messages that he had sent to Kerry Coyner. Kerry Coyner, being a colleague, another delegate there in Virginia, basically just going, I mean, full length, like I want to harm this guy's kids in front of his wife. Maybe that'll make them change their political minds. I mean, full blown. This guy's going crazy. and he's still in the race. All that we would get for condemnation for Jay Jones was Abigail Spanberger saying, yeah, that political rhetoric is pretty rough. That should not happen. Anyways, ignoring all of the calls for people pressuring them to tell him that he needs to cease his bid for AG. But here's what's going to happen to these Republicans. For a private chats where they're joking with each other, they're going to, and this is probably the status quo, is what we're used to, they're going to get fired. They're going to lose their jobs. They're going to be ushered out of their career kind of positioning with politics. That is the problem with the political dialectic right now. It is the left can verbatim go online and Antifa, whether it's on Blue Sky, talk about all this lolly stuff constantly, which, dude, I saw some of that from even right-wingers. It's getting out of hand. You guys need to go to church. But you have the left being entirely intolerant, saying they want to harm people nonstop. Nothing ever happens. I mean, right now, Twitch is having this ongoing struggle with Hassan Piker. Well, I hesitate to say ongoing struggle. They're just trying to ignore it. I doubt they can for too long. Basically shocking his dog on stream. Now, that would, for most people on any other platform, would constitute a basic strike. You'd probably, at the minimum, be suspended or lose your ability to stream for a couple of days just because, just as a precaution. But Hassan can full-blown do it with all this evidence coming out and no one even bats an eye. So it's to say that the story here really is, what will be these guys' response to that? What will be the response of some of these people when they're called, they say, do you renounce this? What say you? You know, what say you to this? The story will be, I mean, even if it's just one of them, man, I hope there's one of them. They just go, yes, I did say this. It was a joke. Stop being offended, you pussy. Anyways, that's what we need. That's the test. That's the have the Republicans learned yet test. Have these, and this is, and the reason why I say this too, so remember, this is the young Republicans. So we're not talking about boomers here. We're talking about largely everybody in this chat is like under the age of 30 here. Like, this is a test of our mainstream, Republicans in there. But let me grab this chat from Nativist Friend. He says, boomers. Oh my God. Horrible Zoomers. So you're saying there's a chance. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. And let me see. There's somebody else said something here. Technical Dish Soap. He said, the response should be, at least we aren't running for AG, and post picture of Jay Jones messages. That would be a great response. That would be a throw the ball back in the court. That would be a solid deflection. And as you go through this article, I mean, you can begin piecing these things out. I mean, the stuff I guess I would even be a little pulled back on would be all of just like the rape jokes. Like, I get it, haha. And I'm not ever going to be one that's funny, but that's like the rape ones are the ones that's probably the hardest to get people to go, oh, it was just a joke. Those ones are like, even optically, there's some things you have to remember. But again, this is a private chat. This is a private chat amongst a bunch of colleagues in the same group. And half of the stuff they're talking about is like finance as it relates to their own local chapter or some of this stuff. So the unfortunate aspect is, though, that some of these people actually already have talked to Politico. Some of these people have actually already come forward and given their apologies. So one of the most notable people in here is Peter Giunta. So Peter Giunta is someone who's spilling the beans on Gavin Wax. So Peter Giunta, he's the one who is alleging that this leak was a highly coordinated, year-long effort led by Gavin Wax. Now, the person who actually leaked it, so who actually leaked this? Well, it wasn't Peter Giunta. Peter Giunta said, and staunchly, as it's written here by Politico, said no, he did not turn this over to Gavin Wax. He denied Gavin Wax when he asked him. So who did? Well, the person who did goes by Michael Bartels. And who is Michael Bartels? He's literally one of the only guys in here, and I think he is the only guy who works for the Trump administration currently. He probably was fearing the hot button. He felt his seat get very warm. And I don't even know what was going through his head, because turning this over, man, you're going to get fired regardless. You handed your enemy the rope to hang you with. You cowards. But again, I don't expect more from Republicans. I just want to get surprised. I want one of these guys to come out and say, oh no, I said this and more. Do you want to see my other group? But anyway, so he's one of the guys he's the person who turned it over to Gavin Wax. He says he didn't turn it over to Politico, so I would imagine that means that Bartels handed over the log to Gavin Wax, and Gavin Wax, whether himself or he turned it over to somebody, that's how it ended up being given to Politico, who then broke the story that as of a couple hours ago has 3 or 4 or 5 million impressions online, which is just insane. And beyond there, though, he works for he serves as counsel for the U.S. Small Business Administration. He's not any kind of major player by any means, but he's still in the administration. One of the few people who's actually got a seat. But we're going to go to one of the calls because apparently a friend of Michael Bartels and Peter Giunta is extremely, extremely irritated by this. And so going to this post here, we're going to get off of the, I'm got a sunburn almost from how bright that screen was, dude. I have my brightness down, I swear to God. But this is from Aiden, and so let me actually do this. This would be an easier one to look at, doing it like this. This is from Aiden Zitter. You can't see him, but I will move my big head out of the way. This is from Aiden Zitter. So it says consultant, strategist, propagandist. Looks like it says he's the founder of BWC. Hope you guys know what that means. If you don't, probably not one of our guys. Anyways, I've seen his posts a few times actually online. He seems like he's one of our guys. I'm not gonna put my tag on that, but just to let you know, I've seen some pretty cool posts from him. So whoever knows who half these people are anyways, it's hard to tell. But this is what he writes. He says, a friend of mine got blackmailed into leaking these chats, a total effing coward and a useless piece of shit. One of the people in here, he attended his wedding with me and still sold him over to the devil, all over some useless young Republican beef. And then the GOP condemned them. F these people. The GOP tried. The GOP tried to fire my friend and vice chairman from his AG job because of TikToks I posted about immigration. I wasn't allowed to talk about replacement theory or any mainline immigration stances. They asked me to resign over Trump's green card diploma mill comments. I was blacklisted by Young Republican National and blocked by their account because their leader is a BLM sympathizing closet case. Everyone in this article is a patriot, and everyone attacking them is a dirty, treacherous, impotent, cowardly bundle of sticks. They all deserve to be destroyed. And that's kind of the question here. Will these guys stand up to it? Asha Logos writes, don't run from such comments words anymore. Stand tall and simply say, yep, what of it? Exactly right. That's exactly what I'd said. This is funny. You aren't, there's no such thing as too far to the right. Kaiguya's top gal says your friend is a pussy. Then Nicker says name they're just yapping. You just read the article, brother. It says it right there. And so the unfortunate thing is Asha is our brother. Asha Logos does great, phenomenal work. I need to cite him more often, to be quite honest with you. So I wanted to go back here because here's why I don't have much faith. Let's go to some of these interactions here. Let's go to this first one here. What is this first interaction here? Let me blow this up so everybody can see it. What does it say? Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. And everyone that endorsed but then votes for us is going to the gas chamber. When do we start bullying, dude? We have a solid 3 people who can probably have them want to jump. I would imagine, here's the thing. I would imagine that these are actually these are recreations because it says it was from a Telegram chat, and anyone who's been on Telegram knows this is not what Telegram looks like. So I would imagine this ultimately is a recreation just meant to get the point across. So it's not as gimmicky with all the PFPs and the interactions and emojis. Because, the average boomer has no idea what that is. Just give me the text. Just give me the text. Then go on, when we start bullying people, we have a solid 3 people who can probably have them want to jump. If they vote for us, why would they be gassed? When do we bring that side out? I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers. And so I'm going to be honest. This is tame in comparison to some of the talks I have with my own wife. If you are offended by this level of rhetoric, you got to give me a break. If you are offended by this level of rhetoric, I probably can't even have a conversation with you. Like, period. Like, this is not anything that crazy by any means. Like, oh, haha, like he said a Holocaust joke. Everyone, like, get in your bunkers. Lord have mercy. But one of the other things I wanted to highlight was they have some images from some of these people here. So I think this is Peter Gianta, right? Yeah, Peter Gianta. That's who this is right here. I'm going to be honest. I'm a big ethos guy. I am. Anybody who follows us in the Discord, who pays attention to the No More Fat Nationalist newsletter I try to run every day. This guy's ethos is telling me he has very little discipline. This guy's ethos is telling me that he probably would do something that would be more self-serving than would be a long-term benefit. This guy looks like, to me, that he does not have his priorities in order. So then I was like, so who's some more of these people? Bartels isn't pictured here, actually, although that's where they're going through. I can show this here. This is the Bartels aspect. He talks about how he was being threatened and being blackmailed. His position was being directly threatened there at the bottom. And but that is who ended up turning it over. He did add that he believes portions of the chat may have been altered, taken out of context, or otherwise manipulated. And possibly, I mean, truth be told, there's no actual real images of the Telegram chat in this article. But with as many of them coming forward and coming clean about it, at this point, it's like, I think there's at least 6 or 7 of them have come out and said that they basically confirmed it's real. A lot of them didn't provide comments, but when that many come forward, it makes me think it's probably a lot more true than false. But here we go, right? Here's the hand wringing, the hand wringing, the finger wagging, the whinging. One of these subheaders here in this article is 251 times. That's, I mean, for 7 months, they only said slurs 250 times, and you separate that by what, like 20 people? Well, so there's 20 people in there over 7 months. So 251 divided by what, 7? I can't do math right now. It's a little under 50. So it's like what, like 35 or so, 35. And you divide that by 20 people, it's like, okay, one person said one racist thing a month. Like, really? Hey, nobody check my Discord by any means. But that's what the back end of this article is. It's hand wringing, you know, and then they go into like, oh, they even had Indian jokes here. But it's a lot of hand wringing and whinging. But these are the guys who are on the pictures. Look at this. I don't even know how you make somebody this unfortunate. Like, I need to see their parents. And I'm not even trying to be mean. How are you in this position, right? Like, to be in this position, you got to have some level of money, right? So how do you have this level of money, but you don't spend any ounce of it trying to not look like that? But maybe that's the cycle. Once you get enough money, you quit caring about other things. So I was like, well, maybe there'll be some more, right? They got some other guys in here. Oh, Lord have mercy. This is another one. Does this guy look like he's going to stand up to the establishment machine? I mean, listen. He can prove me wrong. I'll sit here and be surprised, and I'll say, you know what, dude, I was wrong for judging you. I just didn't expect it, but I highly doubt it. He looks like he probably was the one who turned him over. I'm not sure who this person is. This is Bobby Walker, I believe. No, William Hendricks. Bobby Walker is this guy. Yes, Bobby Walker is this one. But the other realization that I had looking at that photo was I immediately went, wait a minute. If these kind of looking young Republicans, these do-gooders, these prudes, these guys who end up in these spots over here, then man, I think the kids are going to be okay. If they're having these conversations in private, like at this level, imagine how reflective that is comparatively to other normie mainstream kind of, conservatives. My computer monitor almost fell through my desk with those pictures. That's funny. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it off screen so it's not distracting. But in all reality, I mean seriously. And that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. However, we need to not be such cowards. We need to not to be so afraid. And it needs to be public. It needs to be like, no, this is actually how we talk. That's a transition that needs to happen. But it can't happen if there's this continual expectation that everybody from Elise Stefanik to Tulsi Gabbard to Kash Patel to Dan Bongino to Pam Bondi to Matt Gaetz to Marjorie Taylor Greene to Thomas Massey to so on and so on and so on and so on are expected to condemn it. Oh, we would. Oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Oh my goodness, I would never hire any of these people. Oh, that's got to stop. In fact, what should happen is someone should go, can I get a name of somebody who's on that list? I need to hire somebody immediately today. Give me the one that said they love Hitler. Actually, I need 2 of them yesterday. That's got to be the response. Has to be the response. And that is kind of like the real story here, which is what'll be the response. Now, I expect all of the women will be, woe is me, they'll be clutching their pearls. Possibly. But that's also why women shouldn't be in politics anyways. But it doesn't get much better. I'm going to be honest with you. It does not get much better. I believe there's one more person in here that they have a picture of. It's actually, maybe there's 2 more. But it made me sad too, because every person they showed a photo of was like this. Now, I'm also, let me go back up here so you guys are forced to look at it. One thing I'm also thinking of too was, if you were Politico, would you not, and like if your goal is to really drill, drill this point home and be like, look how bad and nasty all these guys are. Well, wouldn't you not put all the photos of all the good looking people? There's females who are involved in this too, but the only photos are of guys and of very, very unfortunately genetically gifted ones at that. So how many hours of league is under this guy's belt? I don't want to know. I keep that to yourself. Oh, that's wonderful. Don't even have to tell me. I'm sure it's great. I'm sorry it happened, or thank the Lord it did. Either way, I ain't reading it. But maybe it's a bit of the media, the sleight of hand of the media. Maybe there are some very Aryan Chads in this chat that they're just not highlighting because it would give more, it would drive the story a bit more in the direction they would not like it to go. And funny enough, that is one of the things they talk about that's highlighted in those chats there, which they make a small subsection about, which is they're talking about a person that they're going up against in a certain race, and they're making the point that should we start putting Hitler edits on this person? And one of the responses was no. They're going to was dude, that chat is this, you're out of pocket. You're making me say that out loud. When they were like, no, the Hitler edits will make people vote for her. We'll lose the race if we do that. Meaning that even these idiots who go into these dumb programs that basically that shuffle people into and kissing the wall in Israel, even they can recognize that Hitler has one aura, but Hitler has once again captured the youth. If these guys can recognize it, imagine what other idiots can recognize it. I'm going to do it. This is the chat from Lord of the Ree. He says, bro looks like Zeb Boykin. All right, everybody, all the clippers ready? Everybody ready for the face reveal? Who looks like Zeb Boykin? He looks like Zeb Boykin. No, I can't, dude. This is actually the inverse of Zeb, to be honest. Because Zeb has a very strong stash, but the weaker, the mutton chops. But this guy's got the weak stash and the strong chops. He's it's the inverse, actually. I can't do Zeb dirty like that, dude. He's probably watching right now. Soykin. Oh, Zeb Soykin. Oh, okay. All right. I guess I won't have to call it in. I'm not going to have to call it in to the higher ups, Ree. For any of those who have maybe no idea what's going on, in relation to the New American Vision, I am friends with creators over at Outside the Overton, and that is Zeb Boykin, who is also co-hosted with Josh Vandernoord, who literally just chatted right there. They're great. Go and check out their content. Again, Outside the Overton. They were one of the first people to blow open the door on the ballistics angle in terms of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Always will shamelessly shill those guys. They do great work. And definitely check them out. This is kind of the end of the story, though, for where we are with Politico in terms of what is in this article per se. It even ends with, if there were ever a leak in this chat, let me actually go to that. It's kind of funny. If there was ever a leak, right? They even quote that as the subheader. But let's go down here with this, the final sentence in this. What does it say? I don't want to be on your email list. If we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked for real, for real. He wrote. You don't have to be cooked. You could own this. One of these guys, and I hope some of them, if there's any young Republican listening to me right now, take my advice, please. I'm begging you. You will save your career. If any of them sit there and they take this moment and they go, yeah, I'm one of these guys that said that, and they run with it, they will circumvent this entire story and build themselves a career. And you don't even have to do it on the backs of going, all the other people are bad. Own it. Own it. Say, and bring up Jay Jones and say, look at the levels they will go to entirely eliminate and mute any level of dissent, any opinion we have. Lean into it. Exactly. But Democrats out here calling for violence, shocking their dogs, and no one bats a fucking eye. We're not going to play by those rules anymore. And you know what? Just because it's so bad like this, we're going to even push for things that we don't believe in, just to piss you off. We're going to start rage baiting you guys into giving us free speech and not being such sensitive, pedantic, pathetic people. Has to be. Lean into it. If anyone from the young Republicans is listening, I don't want a job. I think you guys suck, but got to do it. Got to lean into it. Whether it's Bobby Walker, I mean, probably any of the guys who are pictured there probably already turned in. They're like, please, I'll do anything to not lose my cushy $90,000 job where I basically post on social media all day. I trust the plan. Come on. We're better than that. Say you love Hitler and don't even blink. Do it. Just my advice, don't have to take it, but that is exactly what I would do if I was in your guys' situation. You can make sure I check the time. 7:30, we're still running okay. Make sure you smash the like button if you've been here longer than 30 seconds. It means you've absorbed and enjoyed this content for too long to not have hit that like button. And I will also say too, for any people who have a hard time catching the lives, the live show is also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm trying to get a handle of understanding why it's taking. When I first switched to this new PC, short story, I was able to actually get my YouTube rips of the live streams like within 30 minutes. Now it's taking 24 hours. So there might be a bit of a delay of when I can actually post the video side of things to the Apple Podcast, but typically only 24 hours. And it should generally be the morning after. So if you missed it that night, expect it to be there in the morning. Just wanted to add that for anybody who wanted to know. And I feel like I have noticed some extreme throttling on my account, which I wish that wasn't the case, but this is part of the issue. This is part of the barriers, right? It's nothing big. We'll get past it. But that's kind of that was the featured story. I want to just get rid of that tab because I am getting cooked. I'm literally melting. Like literally melting down from how bright that monitor is, to be honest with you. We covered the Aiden aspect of it too. And so that's where we are. That is the featured story. I really do hope that the Politico guys, or the guys, the young Republicans, can stand up to that, and we can get some great quips and moments. And more than anything, I really would like to see people just scream and rage and cry that the condemnations aren't being heard, that no one's acknowledging it, that you're just going, yeah, they said it, so what? Scream, get mad. Post on Blue Sky about how mad you are about it. I can only hope so. And thank you very much. Looks like somebody donated 5 gifted. That was close. And looks like Capo got 1, Mr. Moss got 1, Tooth Harvester got 1, Julian the Apostate got 1. Don't like that name. Vince Staples got 1 as well. I didn't know that many black people followed me. Pretty cool. Thank you very much for the gifted, man. That means a lot. And you guys will now have access to some of the membership stuff, although there's literally only like 2 things in there. Saturdays are going to become the members only content days. Just got to get a better idea of what we're going to be doing with that. So moving on from there, Lord, I'm getting cooked, dude. I cannot understate that. Coffee's probably just going to make it worse, to be honest. So let's move into the other aspect, because I probably am going to run out of time before I get too far along. I want to hear from you guys, and I want to know this. I really want to know what your actual opinions are with this. We're probably going to skip the X product story. I'll probably save that for tomorrow. I'll try to cover that tomorrow. Here's what I want to know from you guys. Nick Fuentes received major pushback because he once again had a call for the March to the Institutions. So in short, that is basically telling guys to go to Yale, go to Harvard. So this is actually kind of a bit of away from where mainstream Republicans are, which are basically saying, don't go to these liberal indoctrination camps. Go and figure it out. Go to a trade school. Go do something else. Nick's on the other side of that. He says, no, we need to march to the institutions. We can't let it get even further out of our control with none of our guys in any meaningful position at all. Not close to any lever of power, not close to any lever of influence. We need to make sure we're making that push, that march to the institutions. The most common and notable pushback that I even can agree with is that there's not enough time to get that done. So I'm curious where my audience is at in terms of what should be the strategic positioning. Anthony, I'll look into it, but they're probably blocked. It'll probably get my channel suspended anyways. I want to know where your guys' head is at for what we should be doing. Because, and I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. I don't think we have enough time for parallel institutions either. So if we only have 20 years, what should we be doing? It's a tough spot because it's like if there is a chance, you would probably want to start marching to the institutions now. A caveat to that argument is, are there people, like, do we seriously think there's zero groypers in government right now? Or or at least someone who's not open to some of the ideas pushed by like the far right? I would have to imagine there's a couple. Because zero is an absolute. Zero is like, no, there's nobody, zero, nothing. I would have to imagine that there is some level of those people. And I even highlighted this. There's two elements. One, Nick has seemingly mentioned in passing a couple of times that there are. And so that's to me is a little noteworthy, and possibly also why he gets all these Fed accusations. Maybe there are people who are on the inside that are giving him some things. Secondarily to that, you have the major kind of blow up from like, I think it was DHS and CBP, which was their back and forth on X, which was Americanism, not globalism, to which CBP responded to that saying, will be our credo. Where's that from? That was a famous quote and quip from Donald Trump pre the 2016 election that has been repurposed, and everyone hears it mostly from the America First stream with Nicholas J. Fuentes. And so I think some people probably saw that was like a couple weeks ago, and they probably were like, okay, maybe there are groypers in government, because that seems to be too on the nose, way too on the nose to not be. Let me go back up here and check here. I'll go to some of what you guys are saying here. Jason M. Schmidt says, we don't have 20 years. 5 years at this rate would even surprise me. You know, putting it on track with what happens after this next election, I think is probably a good time frame. So I'm probably right there with you. Probably no more than 10. I hesitate to be that black-pilled. That's why I always typically do 20. Slygosha says, we need beyond Nick to get the movement. We need... Interesting. My brain just broke. I'm not sure what you meant there. The last few said Nick diss Southerners, even says Lincoln was a nationalist. Yeah, he's got there's a very strong anti-Southerner, anti-hick lib vibe from Nick. And to be honest, I feel it. I'm from the Midwest too. I'm the fan of Southerners. Don't take that as like, oh, like I have it out against you guys. Like, I'm from the Midwest. We just do it different up here. We're country, but Midwest country, not deep South country. Sven says, I'm proud of the movement for moving the Overton window. I've noticed it in daily life, and that is a fact. The Overton window continues to march to the right. Vincent, I really think they weed them out immediately. Unfortunate. That was close. Says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Well, amen to that. Christ is King. Nativist friend, thank you very much for the donation. Says, we need local organizations that can resist Fed BS. And that is one of the more common things I saw from people. Michael Johnson, a normal watcher of the show, and he's one of the guys also who's common viewer with Outside the Everton, makes some great posts on X. But that was kind of his point as well, too, was that if we were to split the efforts, that the infiltrating the institutions can be done via locally, whereas the broader, more comprehensive, robust movements at the state and national level should be more so getting guided to the parallel institutions. So infiltrate local level, because that is very meaningful. And then if you can infiltrate across a nation on a bunch of local levels, that's very meaningful in and of itself. And so maybe it is a bit of both and not either or. Sven says, my town is filled with based graffiti. That's funny. Tactical Dish Soap said it's a very, very small amount. If that's the case, the feds would shut them down quick. Sligosha says, Groypers are the yes, we need beyond to be able to scale back to Groyp status. I get that. Okay. I get that. We have a House Turner says, most people aren't getting into the Ivy League. If the few have an opportunity to do it, they can go for it. That is true. I'm not even sure what the rate is of the, of acceptance into some of these elite status, these elite institutions, if you will. But I mean, I think we should. I mean, when I covered the Aaron Spencer story, if you're not familiar, Aaron Spencer is a guy in Arkansas who's running for sheriff, despite facing murder charges for eliminating a child predator who was going after his own daughter that he caught with his daughter, and he chased them in a vehicle and got them off the road and ultimately ended in the gunshot. He is running for sheriff. But I even said this when I covered that story. The biggest boon to Aaron Spencer wouldn't be like that it wouldn't be having a good prosecution, which it would be. The biggest boon would be the judge. If the judge would be one of our guys. If the judge who's serving over this case is one of our guys, well, that would be the biggest benefactor to Aaron Spencer, because you would have someone who would be politically aligned with where you were at and be a lot more willing to see what you were doing instead of just simply objectively just like blindly interpreting the law, even though we know there's some bullshit laws on there that don't make any sense. And I mean, he's even facing some kind of secondary felony. I think, we were talking about it in chat the other day. Commission of a felony with a firearm. I mean, it's like some made up charge. That would be the biggest boon to him. Having somebody who was a groyper as a judge. But I think that's also an element that people get irritated by, which is there is an element of marching through the institution. You are going to have to, on some level, conceal where your beliefs are. Because if you get spotted too soon, you will get blacklisted and they will not let you in. It's part of the reason why like people like Pine Sap, myself, Zeb, many others like that, and I wish I would have thought about it sooner. There's too much of me like out there saying things, or you could probably find it on my X or find it somewhere that, I mean, dude, it would make that Politico article look like a story about Barbie dolls if they leaked my messages. So, and hopefully we can get to a point where that wouldn't matter. I mean, sometimes I think about what it would be like to run, but it seems like it would be hell. Please only if it's absolutely, completely, entirely necessary. And even then, I'd probably have to think about it. But I don't know. What is the solution? What is the best course of action? Because, I mean, seriously, like if we're still here, going back to the Politico article, if we're still in this position that the overwhelming majority of mainline conservatives will immediately, at the drop of a hat, they said a bad word, they'll get on their hands and knees and go, oh my gosh, I'll do anything for money. I love Jews. I'll touch the wall for Israel. I love black people. Yes, yes, yes. Then we might as well just march to the institutions, because we're not getting parallel institutions from those people. And at the same time, too, I mean, remember Waco? Like, there's also an element of if only so many people do the parallel institutions, they will make themselves simply just a slightly bigger target to hit. They'll just be a slightly bigger mole coming up to get bopped. And at this point, with the way our government behaves, especially in terms of, most transparent administration ever, Epstein, what? I don't know what lengths this administration would go to, and then blame it or pass it off as being something that it wasn't. There's a very dark nature attached to this administration, and it's hard to really kind of nail down. And it's almost kind of more blackpilling than being able to dunk on Joe Biden constantly. It's like, these are our guys, but things are getting worse. Not a good feeling to have. And yeah, so that was kind of a lot of the main stories of today. I know today was not going to be very, very long, but I did basically, reach an hour. That's kind of the goal. But I got to get off of here. I got to get ready to have the meeting with Zeb and discuss things since I missed the first one that we're supposed to have. So with that, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Expect this schedule to continue going and rolling the way that it is. One produced video in the morning. I will also do a stream at night as well. If you guys are interested in joining the Discord, you can. Tix has posted it, I believe, like 10 times throughout the live chat. If you guys want to find that, just click the link and join the Discord if you want to join in there. But if you are afraid of ever your logs being leaked and being called racist, that is not the place for you. That is your first and only warning about that. And what else was I going to say? Just pay attention to the New American Vision. New American Vision. I've said it wrong twice now. Hopefully we can get that ball rolling sooner than later. And whether that will be in the coming weeks or next week, who knows, but pay attention to that. I'm very excited to get that rolling. We are trying and we are going to do our absolute best to compete with the Daily Wire, to compete with people like Rift TV, to compete with people like Fox News. That is the goal. And it'll be a lot more cultural in terms of discussions as well. Will it become a news publication? I'm not sure. I don't know about that. We'll probably stay a lot more cultural for the time being. A lot less really, in terms of liability and management. We want to keep it small too. We'll see where it goes from there. Obviously, it's a lot happening at once. But with that though, I appreciate you guys greatly. Christ is King. Support Kash Patel, and for that matter, every Indian that is in America. Don't need him. See ya. Bye. Gone. Ban women publicly from public life. Put women back in the kitchen. Tell them to stay there. And when they want to run for president, tell them to shut up. Go and open your Bibles. I know half of you probably say that you are Christian, but you probably haven't prayed or read your Bible in a couple of days. I'm just throwing that accusation out there. I'll see if I can convict anybody. But I appreciate you guys greatly. This community is fantastic. I love you guys. I know there's the occasional Jew who screams his head off, and sometimes the Muslim, but we get along, and I appreciate you guys greatly, and it gives me the energy to keep going and keep providing shows like this, and hopefully we can stay in that vein. So with that, again, Christ is King. I appreciate you guys greatly. I will catch you guys tomorrow, and be prepared for the story about the ex-product guy banning people. And I'll see you then. Take it easy.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ